Hi, everybody. This is Farha Ahmed with Fort Bend Voters League. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We have a lot of interest in some of these city council races, and we thought this would be very entertaining to have our candidate conversations. We've done quite a few of them before, and I'm so lucky to have co-moderator Jessica Stroh here. Jessica, welcome on our candidate conversations. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you so much. And I'm excited for our talks today. So, joining us today are three candidates for City Council District 2. They are Cindy Picazo, Sanjay Singhal, and Bradley Tilton. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Well, we
Thank you
thought
so
we
much for this opportunity.
absolutely
Yeah, thank
thank
you
you
so
all.
much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, all three of you. We're going to just jump into a hot button issue that's in your district, which is that natural gas power plant that we saw a lot of Telfair and New Territory residents have very strong opinions. And we're going to start off kind of randomly. We're going to start off with Sanjay. Would you like to say a few words about what happened? Why is this issue so important? And what was kind of the consensus of the residents and any updates you have?
Definitely, and I had been, as you know, on the forefront of this issue, leading the resident both from New Territory and Telfair. So the issue was that putting up a power plant in the middle of our community creates a lot of environmental hazard in terms of the quality of the emission which are there and also the conditions and the health of the citizen. Moreover, putting a power plant there would put a industrial look into that area, and that would decrease our home value. So that's why most of the residents, both in Telfair and New Territory, were very much not in favor of this power plant. And that is why I took the lead. I mean, I spoke in the New Territory power plant as well as I organized the town hall in Telfair, where the resident pushed back against this power plant. And finally, I think the city council heard the resident view and postponed or cancelled these plans.
Okay, and Bradley, what are your thoughts on this too? You must have heard about this also.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the big issues and the concerns that was brought up by all the citizens in both New Territory and Telfair is that it just seemed to kind of come out of nowhere, right? I don't think the communication about the plans and what was getting planned and what was going on with regard to trying to obtain the grants to make that power plant was really properly communicated to all the citizens. And so the good thing is that the state of Texas did not approved to put a plant in that location. And so I do understand that it's dead as of right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be an issue that's not going to come up in the future. If the state of Texas decides to include more grants to put in more natural gas power plants, because, I mean, the state of Texas's electrical grid is not very good. They need more power. And so, this is going to be something I think that may possibly come up again. And so I think the city needs to be prepared to not only communicate with the constituents about this, but also to have an idea about other options that they could have as well. Because I think, generally speaking, with New Territory and Telfair, I think vast majority of the residents are against it and against the power plant in that location that they picked.
Cindy, what about your thoughts on the natural gas
Yeah,
power plant?
I'm so glad that you asked about this. It was an incredibly controversial proposed project, and it was presented to City Council as a proposed solution and opportunity. But I agree with the body of council and with the majority of our residents from New Territory and Telfair, all of those in District 2, that this really was not a good project for us. And as Bradley said, the communication just wasn't there until staff has an opportunity to look at all of the risks, all of the environmental concerns, until they're able to answer all of the questions that all residents have. Things like this shouldn't even be considered. It has to be something, as again, as my colleagues have said, this is probably not the last time that we will have something like this come up. There's that area across from New Territory and Telfair on 90. Something is going to have to be done with it. But again, it's going to be incredibly important to create those connections with the residents of District 2 to make sure that everyone is a part of the decision that's made for that particular area, how it's handled, and what we do going forward.
Thank you all for your thoughts on this. Jessica? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm muted. Sorry about that. Thank you for your answers there. The next question is a two-in-one, and we'd like you to tell us one thing you're proud of that the city of Sugar Land has done, and another thing that you'd like to see the city address. Bradley, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that the city of Sugar Land has done that I think they do really well is, provide, parks and recreation spaces for our citizens. They also do a good job generally having information available to people. If you go onto the district website, you could find the city plans. You could find, the city website. You can find the city plans. You can find all that information from the city if you have any questions. The city council meetings are all streamed online. And so they do a very good job with that. I think part of the problem, though, is that I don't think a lot of people know about the resources that are out there. I think there's a general lack of a disconnect between our citizens wanting information and then being able to find that information, right? Some of the locations on the website, they're kind of hard to find. Like, so for example, I don't know if people know, we approved $350 million in bonds, right? For all sorts of different projects. So the city of Sugar Land has a bond tracker online that you could sit there and you could watch in real time as these bonds are getting spent and what the plans are. And I don't think that people really know about that. And so, I think the city could do a little bit better job with regard to the website, getting people informed about, what opportunities there are and what the city actually does provide them. Because I think that'll answer a lot of questions that the people have.
Good. Sanjay, what are your thoughts on that?
I think so. One thing which city has done well is the support for the law enforcement and the emergency provider, the first responder. I think overall, we are one of the safest city in Texas. And I feel that we have done a good job in terms of providing them resources, support, and overall facility which they need to do their job. And I'm very proud of that. I will continue to push for the same. I think the improvement area would be the decision making in the council. I believe the council should be more transparent. A lot of time, the important decisions such as power plant, such as Imperial are taken into executive session. So instead of having that discussion into the open session, city is taking those discussion in the executive session, which residents have no information or no means to follow up, even on the website. So I think that needs to be changed. Only thing which are really confidential, like personal in nature or legal in nature, needs to go into the executive session. Everything else should be discussed in the open city meeting. And that's one change which will bring the confidence of the citizens into the city council, and I will push for.
Very good. All right, Cindy, what are your thoughts on that?
I think one of the things that the city of Sugar Land has done incredibly well is economic development. And that is easily seen by the fact that we are 96% built out. They've done a fantastic job of bringing in a variety of retail businesses, wholesale businesses, and others to bring a sense of community for Sugar Land. I think that there's a fantastic mix of those, but at the same time, it's also one of the things that has become an issue because now again we are almost built out and we've got only 4% left of our land, and there's not a lot we can do. So now we are going to have to focus on redevelopment or realigning some of the infrastructure and the economic development that we've worked so hard to get. It's there, but now it's aging, and we're going to have to work on pulling that back in.
Thank you all. I get the next question, and it'll be Cindy starting on that. There's been a lot of controversy on whether citizens can speak about non-agenda items during the public comment section of a city council meeting. And there was an issue, like even if you utter something like "Go Astros" or "Go Texans," like you're making a statement that's not an agenda item, and you might get escorted out of the public meeting. And I think that there's a lot of opinions on this, and I think people want to know, will they have an opportunity to speak on something that's not on the agenda? And what are your thoughts on that, Cindy?
So I have two thoughts on this. So personally, I would like to have a more open dialogue between the city council and all of the residents. It's important for us to have that open communication so that we understand what's important to the residents. And so we want to have that. We want to make sure that we can build more tangible connections with our residents. But on the other side, we also need to balance transparency and public discussion. So, the reason that we have items on the agenda ahead of time is so that everyone is aware of what is going to be discussed. Everyone knows what issues are going to be brought up, and they have the opportunity then to make the time to be at the meeting, because not everyone can be at every meeting, but they can if we let them know what's going to be on that agenda, be aware of what's going on, and then also be prepared to speak about those particular issues, not to be blindsided by something. So we've got to find a way to balance the fact that we're transparent with everything that's going on in meetings, but making sure that the public has the opportunity to have those discussions. The other piece of that I don't think we think about very often is that council members really are volunteers. I mean, it's not a full-time kind of position, whereas staff for the city, this is their job, and some of them have been at work since 7:30 in the morning. And the longer that those council meetings go on, then the longer that they're at work and have to stay away from their families. So there are just a number of things that we've got to balance, but there has to be a way that we can balance all of those and make sure that individuals are able to express their thoughts and their feelings at meetings.
Thank you. Sanjay?
Hi, my view on this are slightly different. So I think it should be allowed. Residents should be given a chance to speak up on something which is not on agenda, especially otherwise what happens is some items are never put on agenda and resident will have no chance to speak about that. To balance the time requirement, we can possibly limit it to first 5 questions or 15 minutes or 20 minutes of non-agenda item. But I believe definitely that it should be allowed for residents to speak up on items which are not on agenda.
Thank you, Sanjay. Bradley, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Sanjay. It's really important for the citizens to be able to talk about non-agenda items. Part of city council, right, is that we represent the citizens of Sugar Land. And in order for us to know what's on their minds and what's important to them, I think that they need to be able to talk to us and tell us about what is important to them at that time, and not necessarily what's important on the agenda for that day, right? So in addition to that, I do think that, it should be limited, right? So at the beginning of every meeting, maybe 15 minutes, limited to 3 minutes per person or something like that, right? So that way we're not sitting there all day long with people talking about stuff that are not on the agenda, because for the meeting we do have to be there to vote and to determine the items on the agenda to make sure that the meeting goes smoothly as well. But it's really important that we're able to hear our citizens and hear what's important to them, so that way also that we could plan in the future. So if there's something that we have no idea is a problem and then it gets brought up, maybe we could take that into the future. And it's not just us talking about this in Sugar Land. In fact, in the state of Texas right now, there's currently a bill that's being presented by Representative Canales. It's a House Bill 3850, and they're actually trying to put into the government code a provision that allows for non-agenda items to be spoken at these type of meetings. And so, if that becomes a law, then we're going to have to do it. And I think it would, City of Sugar Land is really good about being on the forefront of things. That's one of the reasons why I love it. It would be great for us to get ahead of this law that's trying to get passed in the House and go ahead and agree to allow our citizens to talk to us about what's important to them at this time.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And I had kind of have a follow-up question to that question. When you have disagreements and city council, and you don't agree with residents or you don't agree with other council members, what steps are you going to take to work with them? Bradley, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So, I'm an attorney. My entire job is, part of what I have to do is negotiate and settle on behalf of my clients against somebody who is adverse to my client's interests and disagrees with what we have to say. And so, you have to be polite and you have to be understanding of the other side and what they say. And you have to have a cordial conversation with them, right? And it may not be a situation that we always agree with, but, you got to treat that other side with respect. And you got to be able to listen to what their side of the story is and what their position is as well, and see if there's a way that we could find some sort of common ground to try to come up with a solution. And that's something that also should happen in City Hall as well, and in the executive session. I know that not all city council members agree on everything, right? I've spoken with almost every single city council member, and that's a general consensus. We don't necessarily agree, but we do treat each other with respect. And so I think in order for you to be able to deal with that situation, if you treat somebody with respect, in my opinion, they'll return that respect back to you. And you want them to understand that even if maybe we may not be on the same page about this, continue to talk to me about it, because I do want people to feel like they could talk to me, and our citizens could in District 2 could talk to me about their issues, and don't feel like I'm just going to ignore them.
Cindy, your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, I think that we have to remember that we are elected to represent our constituents, and they expect us to represent them with respect, and to do it in a way that also shows that respect for others. I would make sure that we are cultivating and maintaining strong relationships with each other as well as the community. It's important that we remember that we are all adults, that we don't necessarily have to agree, and that's part of what makes council and any local body work so well. Not every one of our residents is going to agree. They're not all going to have the same opinions about things. And so having the opportunity for that type of dialogue where we are really looking at all of the different perspectives that everyone can hold, that is what gives us our strength. That's what makes us so good, is that we have that opportunity. And so building that rapport, and then making sure that you take the time to listen to what others are saying, as well as sharing your thoughts. That's how we are going to see everyone's perspective on something and find a way to the best answer, the best possible solution for the city. And as an elected official, serving on the LID board, it's something that I have had a great deal of experience with. We've had to deal with not only other county officials, other local governments, but state governments and federal governments, especially working through some of our projects that we have on flood mitigation. And you find that there are going to be others who don't agree with you, and you have to find a way to work through those issues to get to the resolution that's best for our residents and constituents.
Yeah.
Sanjay?
Yeah. So I think we have to start with the belief that everybody, each council member, has in his hearts the good of Sugarland. So starting with that belief, we may differ on different point of view or how we approach a situation. And as long as we deploy the active learning, have respect for each other, and come to the consensus or come to the point about what is good for this particular issue, what is bad. And even when we disagree, we are disagreeing to the point, not the person. Once we achieve that kind of a working philosophy, I think we will bring a good atmosphere and have a good working team. And one of the things, like as an example, in Telfair HOA, in the last 3 years, I have, I think, achieved that. If you talk to any of the current or past board member of HOA in Telfair, they will tell us that we are one cohesive team together with the resident and together with other board member. We may disagree, but we have respect for each other and we move forward with what the majority wants. So I think active learning, being honest, being frank but respectful is the key to make this team working.
Very good. As our conversation's coming to a close, could you please, in 1 minute, tell us why? Well, actually, 1 minute. You have longer than that if you'd like. Tell us why voters in District 2 should vote for you. And if you could mention why your background also helps with that as well. And we will start with Sanjay.
All right, yeah. So first, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. So I'm an engineer by background from one of the prestigious university in India, IIT, and I worked with a multinational Schlumberger for last 33 years in different countries. So I have an experience of leading the team. I was the senior vice president of the company, leading a global business. So I have had the experience of making the budget, approving, and then executing the plan and getting the results. So that puts me in a very good situation to work as a team in city council as well and deliver result. In the last 4 or 5 years, I have been on Telfair HOA board and last 3 years as a president of Telfair. And I have achieved and delivered quite a lot of results which were unthinkable before. One as decreasing the HOA dues to among the lowest in the Sugarland area, improving the amenities, and also bringing the whole team together, which most of the Telfair residents would vouch for. Now, going forward, also, I have been also always very vocal about what the residents feel about. Like this Sugarland power plant issue, I was the one leading the voice of the resident both in Telfair and New Territory. While most of the other people were on the sideline or keeping silent, I was very vocal with the city council, with the resident, and finally we led it to a situation where the voice of the resident won. So what I would like to request all the voters in District 2 is give me the choice to be your voice in the city council. I will make sure that all your issues are heard and your wishes are being respected. That's all I would like to request. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Cindy, your turn.
Well, I would like to say, so I've been a resident of District 2 for about 28 years and actually grew up in Fort Bend County, graduated from Fort Bend County schools and chose to move back to Sugar Land to raise my children. So all 4 of my children are graduates of Fort Bend ISD. I'm very proud of that. And I'm a graduate of the University of Texas, but again, came back home to take the what I'd learned to be able to apply that here. I've been in banking since I graduated, so we'll just say that that's late 80s and won't talk about age, but that experience that I have as far as understanding risk, how to manage it, how to take teams, and how to transition from, as you know, banks seem to change names like the weather changes in Texas. So being able to help those teams to merge and get along, and they don't always have the same ideas about how to do things, but we find ways to make that work. And then I'd like to say that this all started with a fence post. Back in like 2013, 14, I had an issue with our HOA about my fence. And it was one of those things that was almost comical. And in resolving that issue, I ended up becoming a part of our homeowners association board in New Territory. And from there, I went on to be elected to our MUD board. It was MUD 67 at the time, and spent several years there working to improve the utilities and issues in our neighborhood. We were able to really help with some of the schools with redoing tracks and parks. I think we added a couple of slides to the pools, things where we were able to really find out what the residents wanted and things that would help them. Not only those the serious utility issues, but also the fun things that just make our neighborhood a great place to live and work. And then I heard that there was this group that was going to spend like $60 million on some project on the river. And I thought, what in the world? So I started attending our LID meetings, and I found out that, yeah, they were talking about spending more than that, more like $100 million on projects. And then I was able to be elected to that board, and I've served on that board since Harvey. And that $100 million in projects, we have completed almost all of them, but at a fraction of the cost to our residents. We were able to complete all of those projects to help to mitigate flooding and erosion in our area and save about $46 million of that by utilizing grants and 0% loans and going everywhere we possibly could to get that funding so that it was not a burden on the residents of New Territory and surrounding areas. So we've been able to do that. It was as a matter of fact, if you live in LID 7, your tax bill has not changed more than $10 since 2019. And I'm very proud of that fact because we've worked diligently to balance the budget to make sure that we are addressing all of the needs of our area and our residents, but also making sure that we are keeping that tax burden just as low as we possibly can, because every penny counts to every homeowner. And I feel that I can take that information, take that experience from working with a number of state, local, and federal officials to do the same thing for the city of Sugar Land and our residents. And I ask for everyone who's watching today and everyone who's watching in the future, I really hope to earn your vote for City Council District 2 for the city of Sugar Land. And I appreciate your time today watching and listening to what we all have to say.
Thank you, Cindy. Bradley?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned this already. I'm an attorney by trade. I have my own law firm with my brother. And so, one of the things I think that I can bring to the city council is collaboration and the ability to negotiate on behalf of the city. I think if I get elected, maybe not, don't tell Stuart this because he told me he's also a lawyer, but from Illinois. So, but I think I would be the only attorney that would be on city council. I think that is very beneficial. I am used to negotiating with people and negotiating on behalf of my clients, and I would be doing the same thing for the city of Sugar Land as well. When I've lived in New Territory for 13 years, I have two children that are still currently Fort Bend ISD students. I have a son that's a freshman in Austin High School. I have a daughter who's a fifth grader in New Territory. I have a very vested interest about what happens in our area. In addition to that, I've been involved in all sorts of volunteer organizations through the city. I'm the HOA representative for my section of the neighborhood for New Territory. I was the president of West Sugar Land Little League. I was the president of West Sugar Land Little League through COVID. So I helped keep West Sugar Land Little League afloat through COVID. I did a lot of projects for West Sugar Land, dealt with the homeowners association. And in addition to that, at the time when LID 7 was considering what to do with the pump station and where to put it, right? At the time that they were originally making those plans, it was going to be at our Little League fields, and that would absolutely devastate the Little League. And so, I was very involved in talking to people and trying to make sure that, that those fields and that are there for the citizens in New Territory and also the people all around are able to do that. In addition to that, I'm the Scoutmaster for Troop 38, one of the largest troops in the area. And what I've learned with doing these, being in these volunteer organizations, that it puts me kind of in the heart of our neighborhood, in the heart of Telfair, in the heart of New Territory. I think I have a good pulse about what the citizens in both all the neighborhoods feel. If you look at the people that support me, it's people from all over the district, right? And I have a broad reach of people. I've made a lot of friends. I know a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people what they have, and I think that's what I could bring to District 2 and to City Council, not just Telfair, a voice for Telfair. I'm not just going to be a voice for New Territory. I'm not just going to be a voice for River Park. I'm going to be a voice for everybody to make sure that we can do what we can to make sure that District 2 tends to get ignored a little bit in City Council. Can make sure that they have a voice at the seat at the table and able to get what we need for our district.
Thank you all. I'm just like amazed. I mean, I think when people listen to this, they're going to learn something new about each and every of the candidates here today. You all did like a magnificent job, and thank you all for making time for this. I want people to know that Fort Bend Voters League is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. These races are not affiliated with any political party. These are nonpartisan races. So when you see the names on the ballot, you are not going to see any abbreviation of any political party next to their name. The individuals are going to stand on their own merit and their own ideas, and hopefully the voters have a chance to see them again. There are different forums out there. I don't know how many there are for district races. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. I want people to remember that early voting begins on April 22nd, and that election day is on a Saturday, May 3rd, where polls are open from 7 to 7. There's really no excuse for someone saying they couldn't make time to come out and vote. It is there. It's very convenient. I believe also currently in the county, you can vote at any polling location that is open. You don't have to go to the one that's near your home. So that is also an extra convenience. And again, I want to thank you all and thank Jessica for co-moderating. And we're going to enjoy these conversations in the future. Thank you all again, and good luck and best wishes to all of you. Thank you. And
Thank you.
we'll see you soon.
Thank
Thank
you.